What's up YouTube, it is TVNZ here, and today I want to talk about I think Jeffrey Epstein might be bullshit, and why at least some of the contents in the Epstein files might be a psyop. Now, since I first came by for this video, my views have kind of changed from what I wrote down. I was originally trying to just debunk it and talk about why I think it's fake, but ever since I looked into what people have said about it on social media, I've kind of came to conclude that I think they probably are real, and at least there's really good proof that it's fake. I don't think that it's fake, but at the same time, I still think that my point stands, but I think that part of this is fake, or that there's a reason why it's being popularized. Now, there's lots of different reasons why this could be happening, why people think this could be happening, and I mean, I don't really 100% know why. I just want to throw my hat in the ring and talk about my thoughts on it. I've already recorded another video about why I think Jeffrey Epstein actually got killed and why he died. I might even make another video. I don't want to make my channel just a channel about Jeffrey Epstein. I have lots of other things that I want to make about Jeffrey Epstein, about lots of other topics I want to make videos about, but I think this is a good spot to start because there's just so much being talked about in the Jeffrey Epstein files. Now, I wanted to be careful when I made this video because after deliberating on it for quite a while, I actually realized that this Jeffrey Epstein files, this case actually has a big potential to open up lots of people's minds and to awaken lots of people to the truth. This could just be an agenda to kind of desensitize people, to normalize people from it, but I definitely think there's a lot of potential for it. We had 9/11, we had the coronavirus pandemic, but we got Jeffrey Epstein. This is the biggest opportunity for people to wake up since the 2020 pandemic, so I want to be careful in the way I talk about this, but despite my mixed feelings on this, I still think that this is partially fake, this is partially a psyop, and in a nutshell, I basically believe the reason why Jeffrey Epstein is being so focused on is to kind of cover up the other people that are part of this operation and to try to make it look smaller than it is. Basically, I think there's a really, really big network. I think the US government and the power elite, the Illuminati, they were afraid that people were going to figure it out, so for damage control, they're trying to release the files, make it seem like it's about one person. Now, the truth is, it's obviously not about one person, because there's lots of different countries as names, and I do think a lot of this is legit. I just don't think all of it's true. I think some of it's made up, because this is not the first time that Jeffrey Epstein's files got leaked. There was one back in 2019 or something. I've actually got the original black book that isn't censored. I've got the black book of Jeffrey Epstein, and it's not censored. And something else I want to mention before I want to get onto the next part of the video is I think that this is kind of related to how Charlie Kirk got shot in the USA. Now, I'm not an American, I'm a New Zealander. And I just don't think it's a coincidence that a few months after Charlie Kirk got shot, this stuff happened. Anyway, to continue on the video, I want to talk about why I think Jeffrey Epstein might be fake, and why this might be partially exaggerated or a psyop, and why. Now, if you got a different opinion, or you want to talk about why you think it's real, why you think it's a psyop, go ahead and talk about it in the comments, but just try to be respectful, try to be civil, and I'll be respectful and civil back. One more thing I want to say is that to anyone who's a truther, who's been a truther for a long time, I just want to say, man, if somebody is trying to figure out something about the Jeffrey Epstein file, somebody you know who isn't a truther, I just want to say, don't just encourage them and try to say it's a psyop. Just tell them what you think about it, tell them what you know about it, because something that truthers do is they call everything a psyop and stuff when it's not. And also, the thing is, there's way too much infighting in the truther community. That's something else I want to address later on. It's there's people out there that really want to see us go down. They see us as hateful, alt-right kind of people. They see us as terroristic people, hateful people. They see us as people spreading misinformation, and they see us as a threat to public security. It's earlier I was talking to somebody in my class. I'm in a university, I study engineering, and I was like part of a group chat talking about conspiracies, and he basically said he said that I got kicked out of the group chat because like I had super hateful views. He talked about like how it's like I was transphobic and stuff like that because I talked about how transgenderism was a conspiracy, and like the whole point is, man, that like there's like people out here who like think that we're like Satan, or basically they think that we're like Satan. We're like Satan's spawn. We're like worst things since Satan ever existed, and they think that they associate us with like Trump-tards and people who are part of the so-called alt-right. So it's like the thing is, we shouldn't call each other psyops or shills because honestly, most of the truthers on this space, we got the same views on stuff aside from our disagreements on religion. Like, we gotta stop arguing about the shit. Wait, I'm gonna go get on to the next part of the video. I'll see you guys in the next part of the video. Now, the first reason why I think Jeffrey Epstein might be fake is because he is way too popularized on TV and social media, television, and like the internet, and he's way too connected for politics for me to think that he's 100% legitimate. Ever since 2016, we have had a lot of people in the truth community who basically think that Donald Trump is like somebody who's gonna save us all, and people in the truth community think that Donald Trump's like the Messiah. They think he's like Cyrus the Great of Jesus, Israel, like the state of Israel. There's a coin where they see him as like Cyrus the Great. In Judaism and like the Bible, Cyrus the Great was someone who saved the Jewish people from Babylonian captivity and restored Israel to the land it was in. And these Jewish people, they see Donald Trump as Cyrus. So there's people out there that literally think Donald Trump is a kind of Messiah. And due to that, we've had like a lot of the conspiracies we got into became way more politicized than they used to be. Back in the past, we were like, in the truth community, we were like, both parties suck. They're all part of Illuminati. They're in the same bed. Bohemian Grove. It's like they want to make a new world order. That's a totalitarian world government. And both of our politicians, the Democrats and the Republicans, are part of the Illuminati. But then Donald Trump came in, and there was like this giant media campaign to make him look like Satan. And then there was like another media campaign to make him look like the Messiah, make him look like Jesus Christ II. And basically due to this, we got like super popularized, like super like political stuff. It's like all people could talk about since then was Elon Musk, Gate, the Democrats, the Clinton body count, which by the way, Donald Trump was a Democrat. So to say that like the Clintons had the body counts and Donald Trump's trying to drain the swamp, well, Donald Trump was part of the swamp that you guys think he's gonna drain. And it's like then we had like the coronavirus and Donald Trump, he supported the JAB, and it's like people still think this guy was like trying to play like 5D chess. And due to that, it makes me like distrust anything that came out ever since Donald Trump became president. For example, we got the 2016 Pizzagate. It's like all people could talk about was how it was Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, whatever. It's like people like are making it way more about like American politics than it has to be. When it's like this American politics stuff is fake. This American politics stuff is completely fake. It's like both parties are on the same side. Both parties are members of the Illuminati and the Freemasons. Both sides, they drink baby blood. They drink adrenochrome. It's like we figured out all the stuff about adrenochrome and Pizzagate and Jeffrey Epstein and stuff like that. It's like great, but at the same time, it's kind of like it gets politicized. And Jeffrey Epstein, his stuff is part of that because all it does, like all people want to talk about is how the Democrats and how Hunter Biden, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, and all this kind of stuff are part of like Jeffrey Epstein's island. When one, other people are part of it, and two, even if like they legit did do the things they say they did, that would imply other politicians are doing it. Like people are basically just focusing on the wrong part of the Epstein files, and that kind of makes me think that this is just part of this whole political circus. Because it's kind of like it's all really suspicious. Because it's like nobody ever heard of Donald Trump and knew who Donald Trump was. If they did, they saw him as some guy on a TV show, not as a guy who's a political candidate, man. But now it's like people think this guy is like on our side. It's people get into this QAnon nonsense. They think that Donald Trump is going to save us all, we got to trust the plan. Then we go on to Elon Musk, and they thought that Elon Musk was on our side, but like, what the hell, man? He's not part of our side. None of these guys are part of our side. Elon Musk was part of an Iron Man movie. He was in the Iron Man movie. Like, that's the most popular he was before this nonsense started. But Iron Man is a Hollywood production, and they promote like occult stuff, you know? So that means Elon Musk would have been part of this, man. It's like, due to that, I just don't believe it, because it's like, all it makes me think is that they're trying to promote this whole Trumpism thing, this mega division, because it's like Donald Trump's part of the Epstein files. People don't realize it. So I think all this back and forth we're going to be having about politics, American politics, mega, and all that kind of stuff, I think that makes me not trust it, because it's like, why was Jeffrey Epstein only exposed after Donald Trump became president? Why did no one figure out who Jeffrey Epstein was beforehand? He did have public records, like, he was apparently a school teacher, right? Like, but nah, we figured it out afterwards. Like, that's superficial. And it's kind of crazy there's only people within American politics and like actors and stuff that are part of it. Like, why don't we go lobby it? Like, if, like, you know, we expose the American government's corruption, yeah, okay. You know, it's like expose Hollywood's corruption, okay. But it says, for example, it says we got Will Smith in there, but why don't we have Dan Schneider in there? You know, he was trying to molest Ariana Grande. You know, okay, we got like Hollywood in there. Well, why doesn't it talk about MK Ultra, Project Monarch, Sixkin, satanic ritual abuse, or like witchcraft? Like, that stuff's all part of it. You know, they don't talk about that stuff. You know, okay, so they talk about like Putin, Donald Trump. You know, ever since I first came to the video idea, I figured out there were actually people in other countries, right? So it doesn't just talk about America, but why doesn't it talk about people who are part of the actual deep state, the so-called deep state? Like, why doesn't it talk about people such as, I don't know, Werner von Braun, like the like Playboy and stuff, you know? Why doesn't it talk about you know, the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the 13 bloodlines, the Pope, you know? Or like, why doesn't it talk about George Bush, when there's a painting of him, you know, with like a little paper plane destroying his Jenga blocks, which implies that he did 9/11. And they're like, people like, I don't know, like why don't we got South American elites? Like, why don't we have the governor of California? Why do we only have people that are on the news, basically? Like why don't we have tech magnates, more people in Silicon Valley? Like, why is there only bigwigs who are on the news? Like, if Jeffrey Epstein's island was so big, why don't we have people who are not on the news? Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, that's why I think it is. I feel like it's just a way to increase the political theater. Now, I am going to cover whether I think Jeffrey Epstein's a psyop or not, but that's kind of like the first reason why I think Jeffrey Epstein might be fake. A few notes I put here is that the MAGA movement, that MAGA equals Magus, equals a temple of Satan. Basically, the word MAGA is an acronym, which is actually a cult. Because the MAGA and the Magus, that's like a rank of the Temple of Satan. The Temple of Satan was a satanic occult organization founded by Anton LaVey, who worshipped Satan. So they're basically Satanists. And the Magus is basically a term for a Zoroastrian priest and for a sorcerer. There's this guy called Simon the Magus, in the New Testament, who was a sorcerer, and basically started Gnosticism, which started the Knights Templar, which started the Freemasons. So, basically, this MAGA movement is actually an occult thing. Well, it's not an occult thing, it's an organization that's secretly a cult. Like, it's basically just trying to hijack the truth community. And also, Turning Point USA, which Charlie Kirk runs, actually has occult ties. It pretends to be Christian, but it's actually a cult. Because basically, Turning Point USA, Tapuza, connected to Michael Aquino, who's from the Temple of Set, which is from the aforementioned Temple of Satan, which was basically a satanic organization that worships Satan. They believe the Egyptian god Set was Satan, like the god, like the angel Satan of the New Testament, Book of Job, who basically they found a satanic organization that ran MK operations and brainwashing operations. If you don't know, the US military is actually like got a lot of Satanists in it, and the Navy, you can be a Satanist. Yeah, that's all I got to say for this part of the video. I'll see you in the next part of the video. This wasn't what I was originally gonna like record, but I saw this like woman on Instagram posting something on Twitter, like saying that basically she thinks Jeffrey Epstein was a CIA asset, working for the CIA, and honestly I agree. I think he was working for the power elite, so no difference, and she doesn't think like anything is like gonna happen to them, and gotta say that I think she's right. Like, I want to say to you people, the U.S. government ain't gonna prosecute these people. Like, this is basically just damage control. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try to stop this, shouldn't try to expose this, but we can't expect like other people to like save us from this. We just gotta like try to stop it ourselves, and we also gotta like just try to like prepare for this stuff. I'm gonna post a screenshot of this in like a few seconds. Next reason why I think that Jeffrey Epstein might be fake, or at least partially fake, or like even just like exaggerated, is because I think it is far-fetched and stupid to think that Jeffrey Epstein would directly be in contact with like every single Illuminati member and power elite member, and that like they would be in direct contact with them, given like how sensitive all this information is, and just given how much information is. Like, basically, according to the official leaks, there are about 6.6 million emails in the Jeffrey Epstein, like, catalog. And I doubt that all of them are actually Jeffrey Epstein. Basically, I think it's really far-fetched to think that these guys would all rely on one person, like one person, just to fulfill their sick needs and desires. Now, there's a lot of reasons why it could just be Jeffrey Epstein, like, and I don't deny that he does have a role in it in somewhat, even if he's not the real deal, even if he's not actually the guy who's behind all this stuff. Like how do we know it ain't somebody else? How do we know they ain't just faking it and they're making him the scapegoat? Like how do we know that? We don't. So, you know, the point is, I just think it's far-fetched, because it's just like, you know, it's like if you've looked into this stuff, right, this like pedo network, right, of Illuminati members is like worldwide, basically. It's worldwide, and even across America, it's really damn huge, because people don't realize how big America is. America, the mainland USA, like, we're not even talking about Hawaii or Alaska, like, those are bigger than we think, but America itself is the same size that the Roman Empire was. Like, if you look at a picture of the Roman Empire, that's got all the Mediterranean, Western Europe, we got Israel, we got North Africa, we got Syria, we got Armenia, we got the UK, and we got like Hispania, like Spain. Well, the entire Mediterranean is the size of the mainland USA, and people don't think that's big, but if it's that big, and it's the whole American government that's in on it, that means it's all across America, not to mention the territories, the UK, the whole world. So it's like, it's not like one guy can run it all for every elite in the world. Like, that's just impossible. Like, that's impractical as hell. And so it's like, there has to be other people, right? And it's like, you could say that he's like one island, it's just one island and all that, and yeah, I guess it could be one island. But the problem with that is, like, even if it's one island, you gotta have at least 50 people or hundreds of people to run that, because you gotta have the boats to like get the people in and out, you gotta have the planes to get people in and out, you gotta have people taking care of this thing 24/7, you gotta have, you know, abductors, human traffickers, criminals, because they probably work with like human traffickers, criminals, and like cartels and stuff, right? Like, the criminal organizations we see, those criminals down there, they work with the criminals up there, because one, they're both criminals, two, it practically works, like it just practically works. You gotta have those people, you gotta have like a lot of logistics that people don't think about. So it's like, to say that one guy is the sole contact with all of them is stupid as fuck. Like, the reason, like, the truth is, it's like, you could plausibly figure that out. And most of the reason why I focus on Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell is because they're the ones who got exposed, right? Like, there's been other people who's been exposed, like Hugh Hefner, he was originally Jeffrey Epstein. We got, like, the guy who wrote Alice in Wonderland, that guy was a huge pedo. Lewis Carroll, we got, like, other people, right? We got Jimmy Savile and all that. But the truth is, there gotta be, like, other people and stuff. Because it's like, it's just impractical, and also, Jeffrey Epstein's island isn't even the only location. There gotta be other places. There's, like, underground facilities, there's, like, mansions with tunnels underneath. this place is huge. These people have been at it for a long time, so it's kind of like saying it's just Jeffrey Epstein is stupid. It's just like they're trying to make him the scapegoat to make it seem like it's not as big as it is. And also, some of the connections are kind of fishy. Like, basically, I've looked through like what people have covered of it. Like, I need to look through it myself, but pretty much there was this one guy who said that like the 4chan founder, the guy who founded 4chan, which talks about conspiracies, the alt-right, the trad-wife movement, whatever, right, was apparently acquainted with Jeffrey Epstein. And apparently Stephen Hawking, like that disabled scientist who is like in a wheelchair, was apparently part of this, and that just makes me think that just doesn't make sense. It's like, how you're telling me there's like the guy who found a website with tons of conspiracies that are anti-government, anti-society, some even exposed Jeffrey Epstein himself, is working with Jeffrey Epstein. You're saying like Stephen Hawking's, like that some disabled guy was working with Jeffrey Epstein, some disabled scientist? Well, it's like, that's like that leads to one of two conclusions. Either one, this conspiracy runs deeper than we think, and the things we see on TV are way more fake than we think, or two, some of these connections are made up. Because let's say Stephen Hawking and the 4chan founder were actually part of it. How do we know it was Jeffrey Epstein? How do we know it wasn't somebody else? So how do we know it wasn't someone else? There's a million ways you can become an Illuminati Freemason way, through university, through like your job, through Freemasonry, through the Skull and Bones Society, which is university, and through many other means. So it's like they could have gone there a million ways. So like, why would they only be seeing Jeffrey Epstein, man? Like that shit doesn't make sense. But let's say it's not. Well, they're just trying to I think they're trying to make up shit to kind of frame people. With Stephen Hawking's, I feel like they're just trying to make celebrity gossip. But the 4chan founder, I think they're trying to validate the conspiracy on there, because there's tons of conspiracies that are on there and stuff. And although this 4chan founder being part of Jeffrey Epstein's like island and all that kind of stuff actually does make sense if you think about it. It doesn't mean that like even though it lines up with some things I'm thinking, that doesn't mean that it's actually for real. Like, I basically came up with this conspiracy a while ago before this stuff came out, that the trad-wife movement, the 4chan movement, and the alt-right movement were all CIA psyops. So basically, I think the trad-wife movement and these kind of movements online, this like Catholicism, orthodoxy movements online on Instagram, social media, whatever, kind of think they're psyops. Basically, the psyops designed to like promote authoritarianism and hatefulness towards people and towards like women and stuff, to like make people sexist against women. Basically, it's like to cause division towards women. You know, this modern woman stuff, I think that stuff's a psyop, you know, because I don't personally got the same views on this as most people do. Like, I'm an egalitarian. I think that women are cool. I think they should be equal to men and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not here to promote these views. I ain't trying to force these views on anybody, and you guys can think whatever you want and stuff, but this 4chan thing could validate my views, right? They could easily validate my views. They could make me, see, I knew I was right, but I think that's what they want. They want you to think that these online truth movements are basically just conspiracies. They want people to think that, like, the alt-right and the 4chan kind of people, I think they want people to think they're related to pedophiles, and that's why they're trying to do it. That's why I think they're trying to make them up, because it's like, yo, I wasn't there when they were made, and neither were you, so how do you know they're real? You don't. You basically just trust the same people who are apparently part of this organization. So if they're part of the same organization, how do I know they ain't making up stuff? The director of the CIA himself said, you know, that basically said, by the time we are done with the American public, everything they believe is gonna be fake. So how do we know this shit ain't fake? Like, look at AI, man. That stuff's been around for a while. I got a friend called Orthodox Christianity who, he's like 40, right? And during the 2000s, when he was my age, like 22, I'm 22, turning 23, this guy was like 20 or something, and he was studying AI in university. So AI has been around as long as we've had computers. So how do we know AI wasn't already around during the 2000s, right? How do we know? How do we know it wasn't? Like, we don't. Like, I saw someone on Instagram saying that. Makes me feel like it's actually true. And I guess something else I kind of think is that I feel like with 4chan and Stephen Hawking's, I feel like 4chan, the fact that the 4chan CEO was friends with Jeffrey Epstein. Makes me think that lots of celebrities, lots of people on the internet, lots of people in the 2000s, 2010s, like, you know, were part of Jeffrey Epstein's island. They were part of this conspiracy. With like 9/11 and stuff, right? I think the people who are part of 9/11, like the 9/11 inside job, World Trade Tower Center, Free, Bohemian Grove, they were part of the Jeffrey Epstein thing, if that shit's real. Like, I think that when we were trying to we were trying to expose Bohemian Grove, like Alex Jones was trying to expose that, I feel like the people who were in Bohemian Grove were in Jeffrey Epstein's island. So I think that's what's up, man. And for Stephen Hawking's, well, I think that there was actually some predictive programming, and if I can find it, like I remember to find it, I'm actually gonna post this stuff onto like my video. Basically, there was this thing in Family Guy. Stephen Hawking was being in this cutaway gag where Stephen Hawking was being interviewed by the news, and he was like in his disabled wheelchair, talking out of the machine. Then he got out, and he was like going surfing. Basically, they were implying the whole thing was fake, and there was another cutaway gag where it was showing that FDR, who was the US president during World War II, was actually a puppet. So they're basically showing this stuff's fake, and our celebrities, our politicians, they're like puppets of the Illuminati. What I think is that, like, I think that basically this stuff is kind of being fake. A lot of the things we see on the news is fake. Like, I don't think Stephen Hawking actually was on a wheelchair. I think he was just a normal dude. I feel like a lot of these celebrities that appear to be one way are actually another way. Like, I feel like they're making this stuff up as like propaganda, basically. Basically, Stephen Hawking, right? If he was in his wheelchair, how could he be doing what he did to those poor young children? He couldn't be. So I think that he's actually not disabled. And really, honestly, man, I think this should be a great reason why I shouldn't trust mainstream science, evolution, Darwinism, because if one of our main promoters on TV is on Epstein's Island, how do we know the other people like Bill Nye, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and those other people, they ain't on Jeffrey Epstein's Island? How do we know other scientists ain't? We don't. So, yeah, just gotta point that out. And how do we know the people that founded NASA weren't part of that stuff? Like, NASA was founded by a whole bunch of Nazis and stuff. If you search up Operation Paperclip, Werner von Braun, they were all Nazis, and it seemed like they thought the earth was flat, so I just want to put that out there too. The last things I want to say at Jeffrey Epstein out of my notes is that I think Jeffrey Epstein was part of a larger operation, larger team, and the kind of human trafficking he was doing, because this is human trafficking, was basically had lots of different people. I talked about it in my last video, but I wanted to just reiterate it. Basically, Jeffrey Epstein is not the only guy. There's probably a million Jeffrey Epsteins. Like, doing this stuff, it's just Jeffrey Epstein's a fall guy, he's a scapegoat. It's like, he's basically the guy we're just pinning all our blame, our hatred upon, to distract us from the fact there's tons of Jeffrey Epsteins. Like, I'm in New Zealand, there's probably a Jeffrey Epstein in New Zealand. There's like this child organisation called Oranga Tamariki. They kidnap children from their homes, they take children away from their homes, and stuff like that, if the parents ain't up to their standards. And, you know, it's like, they're like a child welfare agency. What the point is, it's like, they could be kidnapping people from there. There's Jeffrey Epstein in New Zealand, Australia. Also, it's stupid and practical to think that the Illuminati rely on Jeffrey Epstein because he's one guy. What if Jeffrey Epstein exposes him? It's like, I don't think they're that stupid in my opinion. And also, why wasn't Switzerland, Greece, and Germany, / Austria, exposed as part of this? Or Gabriel Matzneff? Basically, it's like, I've done some extra research myself about the Illuminati, the elites, the pedos, and stuff, and like other parts of the globe, and there's actually like way worse people than Jeffrey Epstein. It's like, there's this guy in France called Gabriel Matzneff, who's 100 times worse than Jeffrey Epstein. Like, Jeffrey Epstein's on the tip of the iceberg. I don't have much time to cover this guy, but basically Gabriel Matzneff was this French pedo who was like part of this pedophile circle, who he basically openly wrote about being a pedophile, and he wrote about like how he would like how he would sleep with underage people, like do sexual acts with underage people, and he openly wrote about it. He got awards for it, he got protected with it. He was basically a French pedo who got away with it. You know, it's like France and Germany is where the Illuminati Freemasons come from. The Illuminati came from Bavaria, Germany, and they were founded by Professor Abin Weishaupt, who was a Jesuit. And, you know, the Catholic priests, like Catholic Church are pedophiles and stuff stuff like that. And France is where the French Revolution happened, which was a Freemason psyop. So there's a lot of pedos, you know, in like France and stuff, and that's where the Knights Templar came from. So it's nothing new under the sun. And Gabriel Matzef was one of those many pedos. And it's like Switzerland, it's really easy for pedos here and stuff. And there's like, it just doesn't mention the other people. It's like if Jeffrey Epstein's files was for real, why doesn't it mention people like more hardcore stuff like that? Like, why doesn't it mention stuff related to the Bilderberg group? They'd be part of it. So that's kind of why I think that it might be partially fake. Basically, I think Jeffrey Epstein's role was exaggerated. I don't think he was the only guy in part of the group. I think it was a larger team. And I feel like the Jeffrey Epstein files are being released as damage control and to spread division in American society. So that's all I got to say. I'm Truth TVNZ. I'm out. Peace.